What's up, guys, and welcome to today's stream. Today I have my friend with me, Aiden. Say hi.
Oh Jesus, I was lagging. What's up?
Okay, nice. Currently one viewer. Hopefully you start scrambling in soon. If you have any questions at all, please comment in the chat, and I will make sure to answer hopefully all of them. That's why we are having this stream, to answer your questions and to follow GME live, and hopefully we can watch GME take off together. How is 10K possible? Well, the short squeeze that we have been talking about for so long, it means that once we hit a certain price, and no one knows where that price will be, if we go high enough, the short sellers, they will be forced to buy every single share, because the short interest is over 100% still, and that means that everyone that has shorted the stock needs to buy back the shares. So if someone sets their sell order at $1,000, then they have to buy at $1,000 if they have money enough, and probably they will, because these hedge funds that have shorted the stock are absolutely huge. How do we know they did not cover already? Can they just wait forever? We don't know if they covered already. There have been there are a lot of different statistics regarding just this. We have seen S3 partners say that the short interest has went down from 140% to only 60%, but then the Nasdaq official statistics still tell us that the short interest is over 120%. So no one can know for sure. S3 partners just a few days ago said that the short interest was still very high, and then just a few days later it was suddenly very low, according to them. So it's very hard to say who is speaking the truth and who is being manipulated. Yeah, like you say, Hamat, the short interests, some people say it's very low now, but I agree, it seems very suspicious. I think the short interest is still over 100%, but no one knows for sure.
Well, you bought at 330. That is actually a very good price that you bought at. But
Yeah.
have you bought the dip, or what have you done?
What do you think the time frame is for the short squeeze to happen? I think that probably we will see a lot of things play out this week already. Hopefully we can see the short squeeze occur already, but we could have to wait to up to a month too. But I think that I mean, obviously, the longer we wait, the bigger the chance of the short squeeze is of occurring, as long as we are sustaining the price at around $300, which we are right now. Because the longer we wait, the more fees the short sellers have to pay to their brokers, and so hopefully we can stay at these levels, or even go even higher, which would trigger the short squeeze even earlier.
What's your honest price estimate?
Yeah, it's very interesting, because my honest price estimate, I talked about this in the last video. So I would say $1,000 is very likely to happen, and that's why my number one price target is $1,000. But like a lot of people have been discussing, a target of $5,000 or even $10,000 is possible. How likely this is, it's very hard to say. It's impossible to know. But I think that $1,000, that's my number one target, and I will sell some of my position at $1,000, but not all of it, because there is potential to go much higher as well.
I honestly believe that it will, like 100%. I can't say 100% now, but in my opinion, I believe that it will hit that because of the short positions that need to be covered by all these huge hedge funds. Like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
sick how many hedge funds are actually in this.
Yeah, it's like you
And
say, it's easy to believe that Melvin Capital is the only ones shorting this stock, but and which would imply that Melvin Capital would then have to pay out all the profits to all the GME holders. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is that there are so many hedge funds, so many big hedge funds, also in GME. So I don't know how big the Melvin Capital's position is, but I think that it's much smaller than what people think, and this is a good thing because that means that even more hedge funds have capital enough to pay out large profits for us retail investors.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. So this guy's saying that the short interest of 100%, it depends a lot on if they have been shorting the stock since $10, if they entered their position at let's say at $300 or $250, and that's absolutely true. But still, it's still the same thing because if someone shorted a stock from $10, then if they would have covered their position, then they did have to take big losses and then, of course, leave the risk to another hedge fund, probably. And yeah, like I said before, answering the last question, I think a lot of the short interest is spread out among a lot of hedge funds, and maybe they are not as pressured as it would seem. Uh, Although a lot of pressure is put on Melvin Capital specifically, we have seen that their fund is down over 30% already, so that's something really big.
Sounds Dutch.
Yeah, my accent. I'm from
Oh.
Sweden, actually. I guess my accent is quite similar to a Dutch accent.
Yeah, he was actually close, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Nilsson Hernandez. According to the volume we see, there are not a lot of sellers actually. So that's what we have seen both today and what we saw here with the 75% drop in an hour. So for the price to drop this much in just 1 hour, the volume needs to be much higher. So this right away reveals how much this stock is manipulated by the different hedge funds selling the stock to each other and pressing the price down, while no one can buy the dip, or at least very few people have the ability to buy the dip because trading has been restricted in most of the US companies. So still, with this decrease that we have seen today, the volume for that is absolutely uh, not something that should happen in a stock. So it's easy to see that a lot of manipulation is going on, and the situation with the restrictions for trading are absolutely taken advantage of by the hedge funds. So that's also builds a lot of pressure for when restrictions are finally revealed, when all the people that are waiting to buy the stock will finally be able to, which I think will be a very nice catalyst for the short squeeze to actually start occurring.
I see that someone asked if they can ask things unrelated to GME. Like, of course you can ask, but we want this discussion to be mainly about GME. But of course, if you ask a question, we will most likely answer
Yeah,
because it is
sure.
a stream.
Yeah.
And then we had 2 questions before that also.
Yeah, sure. So a video about AMC, I will for sure cover AMC as well. But for now, I'm focusing only on GME because I think that it's more important to focus on GME right now, especially during these times when the media is clearly manipulating us into trying to shift our focus away from GME, so that the money that is held in GME instead goes to, for example, silver, where this weird kind of attention has been brought to silver by mainstream media, where they are saying that silver prices. Yeah, exactly. Fuck the silver shit. I agree. I completely agree. Um, Silver is so the media are saying that silver uh, holders of silver are that there is a big short interest of silver as well, when in fact Citadel, for example, is a big holder of silver. So if someone was to try to squeeze the silver, what they would do is the opposite. They would just give more capital to these hedge funds that are shorting GME. Can you talk about Dogecoin? Can they cap? If they do, what happens to the stock? Elon Musk has previously stated that he started a boring company, was started as a joke until he decided to make it real. Yeah, Dogecoin. I've seen the extreme increases in Dogecoin. Um, I think uh, I have invested some in crypto before. I'm a bigger fan of Ethereum, but of course, Dogecoin could be a good investment as well. But it's of course much more risky. It's with all of these hype and speculation of Dogecoin. I think it's better to, or if you're going to trade Dogecoin, then just do that based on what kind of hype you see right now. Um, Similar to what happened to XRP today, where there was a huge pump and dump. The price doubled very, very quickly and then right away crashed back down. And so that was very predictable, and you could have made a very nice trade there. So what happened was that these Telegram groups were growing very, very quickly, and they were basically planning this pump and dump on XRP. So it was very predictable that it was going to have a huge pump, but the crash was even more predictable. Will there be any repercussions for market manipulation by hedge funds? I mean, it's very, very hard to say. Um, if we go back to 2008 with the financial crisis, we saw no consequences for the hedge funds. And the same thing could happen today as well. Although I think that the SEC is on our side, which is really nice to see. It's a very good sign. So hopefully the SEC starts to actually do something about this situation that we are in. The hedges can't keep this up forever, right? No, exactly. The more we wait, the longer time that suppresses without anything happening, the more the hedge funds lose, because every day hedge funds need to pay really, really big fees for having their short positions. So it's not just that they lose when the price goes up; they also lose when the price stays still. How long did the peak of the Volkswagen short squeeze last? How long do you think the peak for GME will last? As I don't know when to exit. So the Volkswagen squeeze, it blew up and then it crashed right back down the very next day, or maybe at least it was in that kind of time span. So the same thing will probably happen with GME. So the best thing is to actually put your sell orders right now. Find a target. My biggest target right now is $1,000. So what I would do is if you cannot watch the price every minute of the day, it's important to actually have your sell orders ready so that you do not miss the peak. Did you sell your shares at 300 and rebuy in, or did you not sell in the end? Yeah, I did follow my target of $300. I did sell all of my GME stocks there, but then when I saw the the price drop, I bought in at 270, 250, 200, and 150. So I'm very happy with that buy-in at the dip. Do you know when the shorts have to be covered by? It's very hard to say. It will be different for all of the different hedge funds. As I talked about before, the big short interest in GME is probably spread out among lots of different hedge funds. So it will differ from hedge fund to hedge fund, but probably and hopefully they will all have to cover once the price hits a certain target. So we saw the price go up to $500 without the short squeeze triggering. So that's but no one knows. Maybe the squeeze would have triggered if we just went, I don't know, $20 above, because this is exactly when Robinhood shut down trading and this extreme manipulation of the stock occurred. So probably the hedge funds were very pressured around this price. So hopefully we can see the squeeze occurring right around $500, but no one knows. If we see the short interest is very high, still at, let's say, $1,000, like I said in the last video, then the short squeeze has not yet occurred, and we could see much higher targets. Didn't Bloomberg say only 39 of float shares were now shorted? I don't know exactly what the numbers were, but a lot of different statistics are disagreeing on how high the short interest is. However, I believe it's much higher than 39%. I believe the short interest is still at least 100%. But of course, it's impossible to say today, and we will have to wait and see. But I'm very optimistic that the short interest is still very high. How long do you think this dip will last? I think that we will close above $300 today. If we can just survive this kind of manipulation that is going on right now. Today we have seen very little volume compared to these last couple of days. So hopefully people are able to start buying again as soon as restrictions in USA are revealed, then of course the price is going to surge. So right now we are depending on the rest of the world. Maybe China is coming in clutch right now, buying the dips. So it's very hard to say how long the dips will last. I think it will last until the restrictions are taken away. When do you think AMC will go back to 20? I'm not talking about AMC in this stream. I want to focus solely on GameStop, and I think that's very important. AMC is maybe the next GameStop, but I think we should focus on GameStop first and then put all the focus into AMC after GameStop, if anything.
Watch code saying we are all holding now. I totally agree. We saw that they tried to manipulate the market due to everyone already seeing the manipulation and the manipulation already seeming to be over. Now I can predict that everyone's holding just because of that. We have gone through a total manipulation of the whole market and we're still holding. That's what's going to get us up to 1,000, and all the shorts coming in slightly soon.
Yeah, exactly. And someone is saying that it's going to fall, but honestly, we already fell and we survived a 75% drop in just 1 hour. So this is, if we look at it from today, I think that this move was very positive for us, because in this move, all of the weak people and the paper hands already sold out, and right now we are probably much stronger than right around here, where a lot of people were not ready for these kind of turbulent moves. Now people have been through a 75% drop, so this 30% drop that we have seen today, it's nothing compared to what we saw on Thursday. So just to see that we have went through something so terrible and through this huge manipulation, it only shows us how strong the holders are right now, and it makes me very, very optimistic. Do you see any nice questions, Aiding?
What did you say?
Have you spotted any nice questions? They're coming in so fast, I cannot.
Is it possible to time the peak? Hema asked.
No, I think it's next to impossible. Of course, someone is going to be the one that sells at the peak, but I think that trying to time the peak is just unnecessary. Instead, we should analyze GME before it starts to before the short squeeze occurs. Set our sell targets, set our sell orders before the short squeeze starts, so that we make sure that we cash out before the squeeze is over, because it will all happen very, very fast, most likely. And maybe that's not any from a paper hand perspective. I only say that so that we are able to cash out. I still believe that the best sell order price would be around $1,000 or even higher. Why are S3 partners and others reporting that shorts have already covered? Wouldn't we be able to see that in the volume? Thanks in advance. Yeah, exactly. Like you're saying, the volume is very, very low and has been for the last couple of days compared to what we saw before. So it would be very weird if so many positions had already been covered, because what we have seen here is extreme market manipulation. We saw a 75% drop, and around at the bottom, of course, some short positions were probably covered, but I find it very hard to believe that the short interest went decreased so much, like S3 Partners and Bloomberg reported. I saw some other statistics from today as well that said the opposite. They said that the short interest is still at 120%, and I believe that this is much, much, much more accurate. Do you trade for a living? Yes, I do. What sell target do you recommend? My number one target is $1,000 right now, but as I said in the last video that I made, that if we see $1,000 and if we are able to understand what the short interest lies at when we are at $1,000, then we should be able to understand if it's a good idea to keep on going higher, or if $1,000 will be the approximate peak. If the short interest is still very high at $1,000, then I believe that we can keep going up until $5,000 or $10,000. I'm also thinking about selling around $1,000 and immediately dump it all into Nokia and BlackBerry. Bad idea. I think it's quite a bad idea, because as we've seen for the last couple of days at least, the price of GME and AMC especially, but also for other heavily shorted stocks like Nokia and BlackBerry, they follow each other very thoroughly. So if you were to dump GME and then go into Nokia and BlackBerry, I think it doesn't serve any purpose, because they will the stocks will still follow a very similar pattern. But I think that if we reach a high level of GME and we are able to sell off at a nice target, for example, $1,000, then of course everyone after the squeeze will be looking for the next GME, and there will be much more hype for these other heavily shorted stocks like Naked or for example, like you said, Nokia and BlackBerry, or for example, AMC is already getting a lot of attention. But for now, I'm going to focus only on GameStop. But of course, like you say, after GameStop, it can be a good idea to trade the next short squeeze. Is Deep fucking Value still holding GME? I believe he is. I believe he is. I think he posted on Reddit quite recently that he is still holding.
Tone asked if you could repeat the part about how we'd reach 10K.
Yeah, sure. So I assume everyone here knows what a short squeeze is. If not, I can quickly go over it. It's when, and what we've seen is that so many hedge funds have shorted GME, so the short interest is over 100%, which means that at some point, no one knows when, these hedge funds need to buy back all of these stocks. And because the short interest is over 100%, every single stock in GME needs to be bought in order for these hedge funds to cover their loans of GME. So that means that if we see the price surge to, for example, $1,000, and if the hedge funds still haven't covered their shorts, then there's a good chance we can keep on surging up until $5,000 or even $10,000. And of course, hedge funds don't want to buy here, but they may be forced to do so because of their because of margin calls, which means that when we reach a high enough price in the share in GME, these hedge funds will be forced to buy the stock right away because they simply have no more capital left to buy back the stock if the price was to go a little bit higher. So they need to buy the stock just before they are completely bankrupt. Why did you say every single share needs to be bought to cover their short? Doesn't it just have to go below 100%? No, the thing is that as soon as a lot of hedge funds start to cover their short positions, then they need to buy the stock, of course. And when they buy the stock, the demand increases. And if we holders, like everyone is saying on Reddit on Wall Street Bets, are going to hold to $1,000, there simply won't be any stock left to buy for a cheaper price than $1,000. And at some point, these hedge funds need to buy back the stock to cover their loans. Sure, some hedge funds maybe have extreme margins, which means they can wait very, very long. Some hedge funds will survive even $1,000 GME and even a $10,000 GME without having to cover their short positions. But most of the hedge funds, I believe, don't have capital enough to do this, and that means they are forced to buy GME earlier and to whatever price retail investors decide to sell. And this is what we saw in Volkswagen. Out of nowhere, a lot of out of nowhere, the Volkswagen's price surged very, very quickly and had a quick spike, which meant that a lot of the institutions that had heavily shorted positions in Volkswagen were forced to buy Volkswagen just before they went bankrupt. So all of that money was poured into Volkswagen, and at the same time there was no one to sell the stock for a cheaper price. That's why the price had such a big increase so quickly. Is it possible they will go bankrupt before they can actually cover? That's the thing. If they do not do anything illegal, then they will be forced to cover before they go bankrupt. So as soon as they are facing bankruptcy, that's when they will be forced to buy GME and cover their short positions. And this is what we are trying to do. We are trying to get to a level high enough so that hedge funds will be forced to buy GME, and when that happens, it will be a butterfly effect for all of the other hedge funds to also start to get forced to buy the stock, because as soon as one hedge fund goes bankrupt and is forced to buy the stock, the stock price will increase even more, and exponentially this keeps on going. And hopefully most of the hedge funds that have shorted GME are going bankrupt. Is there anything you want to say, Aideen?
We actually have a question here. Does GME go $1,000? We have answered this before, but we can go ahead and answer it again for you.
Yeah, I believe it will, considering that Wall Street Bets is only getting more and more attention. Whatever bad news comes to GME in the mainstream media, all of that is just turned into something positive instead by Wall Street Bets. For example, we saw that the mainstream media tried to report false news about a silver short squeeze in order to try to shift our focus away from GME to silver instead, so that we would sell our GME and focus on silver. But this was quickly saw through by Wall Street Bets, and now everyone seems to be on the same page that we should disregard from the silver short squeeze and only focus on GME. And we also see GME starting to trend all over the world, especially in China, which is very, very important. As soon as we get some more attention in China, I think that the stock might go crazy. At this point, I just think that we need some kind of catalyst, and as soon as that comes, everyone will FOMO in at the same time, and just in a day. I think as soon as the catalyst comes, it could come at any point. It could occur in 5 minutes. It could come next week. No one knows for sure. But as soon as that happens, I think we will go up to $1,000 the same day.
That is actually an interesting topic. Asia being able to finally go into GME.
Yeah, hopefully that.
Do you think that
happens.
will be a big factor in it going to 1,000, or?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole world is watching GME right now. I remember 2 days ago, I just for fun, I googled biggest news today, and everything I could find was about GME. So I think that this extreme attention that GME is getting is a very, very positive sign. But at the same time, these new investors, they don't want to buy GME right now because they see that we are going into a possible downtrend. But I think that this is only temporary and will only go on for as long as the restrictions go on. So as soon as these restrictions are taken away for example, Robinhood, but I've seen that most platforms are restricted right now. But as soon as these restrictions are taken away, I think that will be the catalyst that we are waiting for, and all of these people that are waiting to buy GME in America will drive the price up, and then when that is happening, the whole world will start to FOMO in and also keep on driving the price up exponentially.
I agree with you here, but I believe that the controversy around GME only affects the people that don't actually know about the whole situation. Because us that are more educated about GME knows that these possible manipulations aren't going to have an effect on GME anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
We
We already saw this 75% drop that occurred on Thursday. So I think that's proof enough that we are strong enough to hold for whatever turbulence that might come in our way. So right now, I think that most holders of GME are very, very strong. Less paper hands and more diamond hands, and it only means that hedge funds are even more pressured right now. I saw a good question. Someone asked if the gamma squeeze would occur. I'll just find a question. Yeah, well, I didn't find it, but anyways, so the gamma squeeze. A lot of people were expecting a gamma squeeze last Friday, which didn't really occur because apparently a lot of the brokers that had to cover calls, they had already bought the share. So during that week and the week before, a lot of brokers had already went in and bought the share. So hopefully the same thing happens now. We will see brokers buy the share to be able to provide the shares for the people that have bought call options, and that means that during this week and next week, more and more brokers will be forced to buy the stocks before the calls expire. So instead of the price surging like we saw this Friday here, where we went up 100%, I believe, from day to day. Yeah, well, anyways, it was a big increase at least, and that was clearly a gamma squeeze where brokers were simply not prepared to provide the people that have bought their call options with shares. So what they have done now instead, what we saw this Friday, was that they had already bought enough shares to provide the calls with shares. So hopefully the same thing happens now, which will help the price sustain at these levels and even go higher. Will there still be halts during the short squeeze? I'm sure there will be a lot of halts, but I don't see this as something negative, because imagine the price starts to absolutely explode, and as soon as the halt starts, more people probably will be confident to, as soon as the halt stops, to go into GME, and I think the halts will only they will only trigger the FOMO even more. How long do you see this going on until GME goes back to garbage money? I think that the short squeeze needs to occur in order for GME to actually reach low levels again. If you're talking about garbage money as in a $5 GME, I think that won't happen because with the short squeeze, the company has the ability to issue new shares, which means they will have a lot more assets and resources to actually build up their company again, and a lot of more innovation with new investors and new CEOs is going to boost his company a lot. So I don't see a $5 GME. However, this price that we are at right now, from $200 to $400, is of course very unsustainable. So the question is where the fair value will be set, and I think it will be around $60 to $100.
I saw another interesting question here being, will the restrictions go away?
I think they must go away at some point, but it's impossible to know how long it will take. If they do not go away, I think that more and more holders and potential buyers will switch to new platforms. Um, they will work around the issue and simply leave Robinhood in the garbage where it belongs. So hopefully we see the restrictions being taken away very soon, but no one knows for sure.
And also, when we're talking about restrictions, Alexander asked if there's potential restrictions in China, if there will be.
I don't know actually, but I believe that the rest of the world, that their restrictions are much less likely to happen. Here in Sweden, no restrictions at all have been set, and I just think that the volatility that the brokers in China are used to, uh, that kind of high volatility won't be that affected by this GME short squeeze, while Robinhood was affected a lot by the volatility uh, which caused the shutdown of Robinhood's trading. So right now, from a technical perspective, I think we are looking quite nice. We see a short-term downtrend here with a pretty clear resistance, but I think that around 250 to 218, $220, we have a really strong support, which will hopefully make us able to break this short-term resistance here. And as soon as we do, I think we can see a really big move upwards, considering also that a lot of people will probably FOMO into GME at the end of tonight, at the end of today, because what we've seen in GME most of the days, these last couple of weeks, is that the opening has been very, very strong. So hopefully we see a big spike at the end of the day today. Is Elon allowed to buy GME if he wanted to? It's an interesting question, and I think he would be allowed to, but it's very hard to say. But I don't see a problem with that. I wanted to pass to Nokia because I think GME will be dumped when it reaches $1,000. What do you think? I mean, yeah, it's good to create your own opinion where you think GME will end up and where the peak it will be at. And of course, if you think the peak will be at $1,000, which I too believe is quite likely, but maybe not 100%. But of course, if you think it will peak at $1,000, you should of course sell at $1,000, and then I wouldn't switch to Nokia right away. Of course, you can if you want to, and I'm not here to give any financial advice. But the risk is that when GME is being dumped, that all of these other heavily shorted stocks also are going to get dumped, because as I said before, all of these heavily shorted stocks, AMC, GME, BlackBerry, and Nokia, and Naked as well, they all follow a very similar pattern. Where can I find up-to-date short interest? That's a very good question, and the answer is that it's very, very hard to find up-to-date short interest, and a lot of sources are saying different things, which means some of them are lying, and I think the ones that are lying are the ones that are saying the short interest is very low. I don't see how any short positions could have been covered with such low volatility here. Yeah, like you're saying, Daniel, they are talking about 50% short interest right now, and I simply don't see how that could be possible because, yeah, like we said, just a couple of days ago, everyone was agreeing that the short interest was well above 100%, and there has simply not been enough volatility for the short positions to be covered.
Um, Asa Place said that Robinhood brought the trading restriction up to 20 shares now. That is very interesting. Interesting. I'm not totally.
Yeah, you're lagging a bit. I don't know if it's my computer or if it's.
We'll see a confirmation of that tomorrow if we put out a video.
Yeah, sure, but I could.
And another. But Mike T said a lot of the holders are in silver today, and it is actually very sad to see that mainstream media pushed all of one form of hypothetical manipulation with the mainstream media.
Yeah, but I think not a lot of people fell for that manipulation actually. I hope not, and I think not, because like we said, the price hasn't decreased that much if we compare it to the 75% drop that we saw. So hopefully most of the GME holders are still in and did not fell for the silver trap. And if they did fall for it, then I strongly believe that they will join GME once again. Because all over Reddit, all over Wall Street Bets, everyone is currently posting that the silver short squeeze is just a distraction.
Eric M asked, "What information can we look for to who knows?" Wait, what did he say? What information can we look for to know that shorts are covering?
Yeah, it's
As
as I said, it's a very hard a hard thing to understand, and I just think the best thing is to look at sorry, I think my internet is lagging a bit, so I apologize for that. But as I said, the uh, it's very hard to look at different statistics because everyone is saying different things. All news sources are saying different things, but I think that um, the best thing is actually to just compare everything, look at Wall Street Bets, and look at the different analysis of what kind of short interest short interest levels are actually reliable. Someone asked before if there's a chance for the stock to go to zero anytime soon, and I think absolutely no. I think that there is a chance that the stock might crash back down, but I think that we won't see the share price go below $60 for many years from now on. Do you see any nice questions, Aidin?
no, just a discussion about how big whales with loads of money have done their own due diligence on GME, and he also wrote that we just have to sit back and enjoy the ride, and I totally agree.
Yeah, exactly. We might see big drops. We have already seen a 30% decrease today, but I'm absolutely fine with that because I strongly believe that as soon as the restrictions are relieved in Robinhood and the other platforms, that will be a very strong catalyst that will trigger this short squeeze. I'm just very interested lately in the possibility of trading for a living, and it's very hard to understand how plausible it is. I'd be happy if you can shortly enlighten me if it's not too much trouble. Yeah, sure. So of course you've probably all seen these statistics of day traders. Only 3% of day traders actually making money, and that the rest of the 97% are actually losing money. But I think that those stats are quite unreliable. But there's some truth to it. But I think that the norm has always been that from mainstream media that you should just put all of your money into funds and let it grow over time. And it is true that it's very, very hard to be a day trader because most people cannot control their emotions, and that's what's making them unable to make money. So I think that the most important thing is to set up a stop loss and not go too deep into every trade. If you were a day trader, GameStop wouldn't really be. I mean, at least the way we are looking at GameStop, it wouldn't be the best way to day trade, because in GameStop what we do is we hold no matter what. But a day trader would always have a stop loss, and just for example, if we look at this, a day trader would just look for these kind of resistance, and if we were to break up above this resistance, we could enter a trade and then have a stop loss of maybe, I don't know, 5% or something. And that's the opposite of what we are doing in GME right now. I could make a video in the future about day trading if that's something that a lot of people are requesting, but uh, it's a lot to talk about.
I totally agree with you about day traders. The thing that separates the ones that are successful with the ones that have failed as day traders is the thing about being able to control your emotions during day trading, which is
Yeah,
very
exactly.
important. Because if you set a goal, you have to go out. That's how day trading works. And also, always doing your own due diligence, because half of the people take information from different sources of media, which messes up their goal. Doing your own due diligence has a big factor within your success.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
That's what I
that
believe.
people's perception of a day trader, it's very different from what is actually
Reality.
sustainable for a day trader. A lot of people think that you're going with all of your money into one trade and then double it in a day. But instead, I think a successful day trader, or at least what I have been successful with, is to invest a very small percentage of my capital, in order to keep the emotions aside, and then slowly increase the capital, which is very boring, and people compared to what people think a day trader does. So I think the general picture of what a day trader is simply what's actually keeping or holding people back from succeeding in day trading.
Yeah.
Do you day trade? I mean, right now I don't day trade. I just hold GME. That's all I do. So that's very simple. But I have been day trading for a long time. But I do enjoy these kind of swing trades more, where I'm following trends on the internet. It's kind of like a new form of trading. It's not a fundamental um, uh, uh, perspective, or nor a technical perspective. It's more of just looking at what kind of hype is around the different stocks right now, and just following the trend.
Yeah, I mean, Lee said I have 3 shares of GME at 97. What should I do?
I'd
Do you have anything
say
to?
I can't tell you what to do, of course, but like three people already were quick to comment.
Yeah,
I
for
would
now.
agree, actually. Just
Yeah,
hold.
holding is a very good idea right now, as we all are doing, and some people are even putting even more of their capital into GME right now. So
Yeah,
holding would
exactly.
be a very good thing for you to do right now.
Yeah, we can't really tell you exactly what to do, but I
Yeah,
can say what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is I have all of my capital into
yeah,
GME, and I'm just holding.
yeah. This is a recommendation for you.
And I'm sorry if the stream is a little slow today, but it's going to be like that until the price starts to surge. Right now, we're just answering your guys' questions, and there's not much hype going on because the price is staying quite at the same level. But as soon as we're starting to see these big moves, we will be quick to make our technical analysis and make sure to quickly update you on what is going on in the graph, and of course be very hyped and stoked about what will happen.
Yeah, I mean, Lee wrote Robin Hood robbing the hood.
Yeah,
Actually, quite like
exactly.
that a lot. I actually like that.
Imagine the short percentage is at 122%. How do the hedge funds win this? The answer is they don't. The only thing they can do is to keep trying to manipulate the price in different ways. But I think that we have been through the worst possible scenario, which is that the whole of America could only sell their stocks and not buy, but still we managed to survive. But so that's very uh, positive. Another scenario that is terrifying is if Wall Street bets for some reason would be shut down. I don't know if this is possible. I think that Reddit itself is do not have any problems with Wall Street bets, but that is if some kind of attack were to um, if someone would attack Wall Street bets. So that would be very negative. That could be a possibility for hedge funds to try to make some kind of manipulation there, but hopefully we do not see that. And if they don't manage to shut down Wall Street bets, I think there's nothing that can stop us. We have been through the very worst scenario that is possible, and after we went through this terrible 75% drop that we talked a lot about today, I think that we are ready for anything and everything. So hopefully this means that a catalyst is the only thing needed for the short squeeze to finally take off. I can't believe they thought we would fall for that silver scam. And yeah, I absolutely agree. That was a terrible way of trying to manipulate the market. And I think that the effect of that manipulation just had the opposite effect on GME and the holders' perspective. I mean, they tried to shift the focus away from GME, but instead just even more positivity is coming to GME because, as I said in the video, the last video, Wall Street Bets has a very nice way of turning every negative news into into something very positive instead. So by looking at this mainstream media manipulation and trying to steer the focus onto the silver short squeeze, um, we can see that hedge funds are very threatened and they feel very scared, so they feel like they have to do these things, and this only boosts the holders confidence. Someone said that shorts will expire tomorrow. I don't know if that will trigger a short squeeze too, though. I mean, no, the shorts will not expire tomorrow. Maybe some of them have an expiration date, but most of the shorts don't really have uh, a set time where they have to cover. However, margin calls could force them to cover at a set time, but that is only depending on what price GME is at. So if we were to see a $500 GME tomorrow, maybe some hedge funds are forced to cover, but it doesn't have to, it has nothing to do what day it actually is. I know you lads are focused on GME, but any insights on AMC? I know that they are pretty short, but not as shorted as GME. So we already see a lot of similarities between GME and AMC. as I said before, the price really follows in all of these heavily shorted stocks. The price follows each other very well. But I think it's, of course, it's best to focus on GME right now. And then when the GME short squeeze is done, I think that will be a nice catalyst for these other heavily shorted stocks. When people have taken their money out of GME, they will look for the next big short squeeze, which can be very beneficial for AMC or, for example, a Naked or something else. Do you have a stop loss set? I do not have a stop loss set. If I would have had a stop loss set, I probably would have sold everything in this dip, which I did not, and I'm very happy that I didn't. Instead, I bought the dip, and which resulted in me being profitable even at a 30% drop today. So, of course, a stop loss is very, very important most often. But I think that in these turbulent times in GME and with all of this manipulation, a stop loss would only ruin your chances of being profitable, because like we have seen, the price is constantly being manipulated. So if you do have a stop loss and manipulation is going on, pressing the price down, you might just accidentally sell your shares to the hedge funds and make it easier for them to cover their positions. Instead, if we just hold, this 30% drop will not be sustainable, and hedge funds will eventually and finally have to cover their calls, which will drive the price very, very high.
Simon asked where we can get short interest information. We have taken this up like many times, but there's no specific site where you can find accurate short interest information, but you can see it in the patterns on TradingView. You can
Yep.
guess, but you can only get an estimate. You can't get a very accurate short interest.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a special time where mainstream media is so less trustworthy, and most often you should not look at forums like Reddit for your information. But I think that Reddit is actually one of the most trusted, where you can get the most reliable information right now. Of course, you need to read carefully what is said on Reddit, but today at least I have read a lot of detailed and carefully explained analysis on Wall Street Bets, suggesting that these new reports on the short positions being covered are absolutely fake. And from the information that have been provided in these reports at Wall Street Bets, it's easy to see that it probably is fake, mostly due to the volatility being way too low for this being possible. What broker do you both use? I use a Swedish broker, which has been very trusted throughout this movement in GameStop. I've had no restrictions at all. Unfortunately, I believe it is not possible for American people to invest through that platform. But my suggestion is to simply Google what kind of platforms are available for you to trade on, and where GameStop is not restricted. There are a lot of smaller platforms where the trading is not restricted.
I would personally recommend eToro, as it is very reliable, and I haven't seen any big restrictions within GME. So I would rely on that if you aren't Swedish, because if you are Swedish, you 100% should use Avanza as your
Yeah,
broker.
yeah, I'm using Avanza. Nordnet is also fine, but I go with Avanza. But I believe that eToro had their restrictions as well, but not for as long as
Yeah.
Robinhood. But I think that eToro had some problems as well. Yeah, a lot of suspicious stuff is going on in all of these different platforms. So eToro is definitely better than Robinhood or Trading 212. But I don't think eToro is the best option. I think that there are probably a lot of smaller platforms that allow all trading. Yeah, for example, DeGiro. I think that DeGiro is very trustworthy regarding this short squeeze. Right now, it looks as if we are kind of breaking this short-term resistance, which is very, very nice to see. And this is what I was expecting to happen in the end of today, because I think more and more people will try to join in at the end of the day here to be able to um, start off fresh tomorrow, where we have seen many times that the price starts off with a large spike just right after the pre-market. But it's hard to say how this resistance should be drawn. It could be drawn like this, and then we would see a breakout already. It could also be drawn like this. This is how I would draw it, which means we have to wait a little bit longer, but you could also argue that this is the correct way, which means we have some more movement to go. Yeah, Fidelity is definitely a good option. I think that the guys at Wall Street Bets are recommending Fidelity as well.
Personally, I would go with whatever Wall Street Bets recommends.
Yeah,
As their
exactly.
recommended.
At this point, Wall Street Bet is a very trusted news source.
Yeah, it's actually sick that that's the truth, but it is the
Yeah.
truth right now.
What do you think? What were you going to say?
No, I was going to read the question after, but you can read the first one.
Sure. What do you think about the coming week for GME? I'm very optimistic about this week. I think that there's a good chance of the restrictions being put away. Hopefully they will, and as soon as they are, I think that is a major catalyst for this short squeeze to occur. So I'm very optimistic about this week.
Julian Riz saying, "What do you think? What do you see GME closing at for, which is 10 o'clock our time today?"
Yeah, I think that I'm very optimistic for this as well. I think that we will break through this short-term resistance that we have seen today, which is great, and this would leave us with a target of around at least 320, I think. Hopefully 350. It's very hard to say, but we can look at this W pattern right here. It's not a perfect pattern, but this would indicate that we would see a target of around about 310, and then with the momentum and with no larger resistance, we could probably go all the way up to 330 or even 350. So hopefully we go all the way up to here. And if we don't, I strongly believe that the pre-market and or the after hours will take us to at least 350. So I think that when we open at Tuesday, we will probably be most likely be up well above 300. Yeah, see a lot of people are losing a lot of money today, and I did lose a lot today as well. But after being through this extreme crash of 75%, this doesn't feel as bad. So I think, as I said before in the stream, that this 75% drop was a good preparation for all holders to mentally prepare for this turbulence that we are going to see throughout this week. And a 30% drop today is it doesn't feel as bad as if we wouldn't have seen a 75% drop already. You don't lose before you sell. Yeah, exactly. If you just put your sell orders at $1,000, you won't lose until you sell, except if the company goes bankrupt. But I don't see that happening. Is $1,000 your goal? It's my first goal. So if we see $1,000, depending what the short interest lies on, and depending on the momentum we have seen up until that point, um, we will see how much of my capital we will, or how many of my shares that I will sell. But there's a good chance I will try to ride the wave even higher than $1,000. But $1,000 at $1,000, there is a hard resistance where a lot of people will take profits. So we need to be careful with that level. But I think that we have the potential to go much higher. My audio is kind of low. Thank you for saying that. I'll try to make it better. Is it better right now? If it's not, just let me know. How come you bought 4 weeks ago? Well, 4 weeks ago, things were looking quite good. I bought some 4 weeks ago, but most of my position, my average buy-in was at around $100, which at the time where I bought seemed like it seemed sad that I didn't buy in with more even earlier. But like we've seen right now, that average buy-in has already doubled. It has went up 140% to 240, and considering I bought the dip here as well, I'm very happy with how I have played this. And the same thing goes for the people that bought at 300 or 400 or even $500. At first, it will seem terrible that you have lost maybe even half of your original investment, but the same thing happened. I was FOMOing in this spike, going in at $110, and then the very next few hours I was down 50% of my investment. But I held through that, and we've seen an amazing price increase since then. And the same thing happened right here. We saw a 75% drop, and I think that everyone that held GME at that point was quite devastated. But once again, we recovered, and we will recover, hopefully, once again from this 30% drop today. it's a good thing that you FOMO because you're here. Yeah, exactly. FOMO can be dangerous, but as long as you're early, it's good, of course. And I think that everyone that has invested so far is still early. I think there's so much more to come in GME. Got in at $43. Been buying pretty much all the dips. Yeah, that's amazing, bro. That's really nice to see. And I think a lot of the holders have bought in at very low prices, and that's why they're able to hold through all of this chaos and large turbulence, because if they see the price go down 50%, they are still at a big profit and they are able to hold in order to crush these guys at Wall Street. So in comparison to people who buy in late, or who just bought in around $400, the people that were early are probably much stronger holders than the ones that just bought in. I bought at $403 and have been shitting myself. Yeah, I I feel you. I did the same thing when I bought at $110, and of course, if you were part of this crash here, that's it was very mentally challenging. But um, right now we are at $240, and I believe this is a unfair price, because I think that all day the price has been manipulated by these hedge funds and institutions. So I believe that we will have a close of $300, but nothing is for sure. But that's my target for today, at least. I did everything wrong. I bought at $364, but I'm here and have learned a lot so far. Well, I mean, it's easy to make the assumption that you made a mistake if you bought at let's say $300 or $500, but if you just wait, you will see that there's a big chance that you still made a really good choice. Of course, like I already said a few times already, I felt terrible when I bought 110 and lost half of my life savings in a few hours. But then it has doubled until now, and that's great. And this little spike. And this small movement, it looks very small compared to what we have seen now. This movement that we see now might as well look just as small as this when we have seen the continuation of GME. Who knows? When we reach $1,000, things might look like this instead, and then you'll be very happy that you bought at $300 or even $500, because looking at the graph like this, it doesn't really matter if you bought at $400 or if you bought down at $200. Of course, there's a big difference in the profit, but just by looking at the graph, it doesn't really matter that much. And sure, a lot of people will feel regret for not waiting to buy the dip, but I think that as long as you're holding and have patience, then you will probably get rewarded. But nothing's for sure. That's just my opinion. I strongly believe we will see $1,000, but that's only my speculation. But yeah. Do you think Robinhood will open up trading for GME, as they drew on 1.5 billion in credit, and they will start to get some collateral back since it has been over 48 hours? Yeah, I think that Robinhood for sure will have to open up their trading restrictions quite soon if they don't want to face a complete crash in the company. Already, Robinhood is by far one of the most hated companies in the world, maybe even more hated than Melvin Capital at this point. So for sure they will, of course, they have, of course, a lot of pressure to to finally open up their restrictions if they want to survive as a company.
Yeah, Julian Riz saying, "When do I accept defeat?" I personally believe that the only defeat that you can have is if you sell
Yeah,
under
exactly.
400. Yeah, like selling is the defeat.
Yeah, exactly. There's
Yeah,
two ways we can be defeated, and it's either by selling now and missing out on the $1,000 GME, or if we do crash back down to $60, which I still believe is very unlikely because, as I said, we survived this 75% crash and we are still looking really good right now. We are sustaining a level over $240, even if most people can't even buy the stock. So this is just the rest of the world saving GME from crashing down. And as soon as the restrictions are taken away, just like I've said many times in the stream, I think we will see a huge increase, and it will act as a great catalyst. I'm going to short Robinhood once it starts its IPO. Honestly, at this point, I'm not even sure they
like
will start their IPO. They might just go bankrupt before then.
I'm so proud of all the diamond hunts.
Yeah,
Trust
I
me,
am
everyone
too.
is probably.
Scrolling through
Yeah,
Wall Street Bets, there's just so many people uniting in holding this stock and going through all of this pain with the manipulation, and it's almost touching to see how many people are
yeah.
united to.
It's actually touching seeing people all around the world just gathering together and just destroying these Wall Streeters.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually touching. Diamond hands fucking everyone, my G.
Why do you think GameStop has not made an announcement yet? There's no real reason for them to do that. I think that some of the insider investors, including Michael Burry, uh, the guy who bought in at $5 and who also predicted the 2008 financial crisis, they have all said that they are. I think someone tweeted that he's enjoying what's going on and he's just sitting back and eating his popcorn, watching this play out. So of course, for the company, it's great that the short squeeze is taking place because it gives them an opportunity to issue a few shares, which will help them in the long term. But hopefully, they don't issue enough shares for the short sellers to survive. But I don't think they will, considering uh, they have not yet issued a single share. You seem very confident something will happen today. Yeah, I don't see how the price could slowly just decrease like this. I mean, sure, we could see an opening at around this level, but I think we will close at least a $300, um, or we could see some kind of manipulation that would drag us down even further down than this. But I believe a lot of people will FOMO in at the end of this day, but it remains to see. If Burry sells and you're still holding, then you start to sweat. Yes, yes. Not really. I mean, I don't think Burry will sell, and if he does, I don't think it matters that much, except that a lot of the hedge funds will have a opportunity to cover their short positions. But from what I have seen, Michael Burry doesn't really care that much of the actual short squeeze. Instead, he is um, actually trying to invest a long position in GameStop. I hope GME offers a few million shares at like $500 to $1,000 to pay debt and to capitalize better. I mean, yeah, of course, if you like the company, then it's a great idea for them to issue some shares to survive their rough situation. But for the short squeeze, the best thing would be if GameStop issue no shares, or at least very few shares, because if they issue a lot of shares, then there's a big chance that the hedge funds are have a much easier time to cover their short positions. Imagine,
Someone in the chat asked.
yeah, tell me.
Um, he asked if it's too late to go back into GME.
No, absolutely not. If I had more money right now, I would just buy the dip. Of course, this is not financial advice and nothing is for sure, but I can tell you that if I had anything more to invest with, I would put it into GME right now when we are seeing a dip. Imagine if GameStop gives out some good news about their future, like some innovative technology that forecasts big earnings. Yeah, that would be a great catalyst, and that's exactly what we need right now. We need some big news that will trigger this short squeeze, and that will make people start to FOMO in, and the domino effect will quickly make the price absolutely explode very, very quickly. Do you think it will go any lower today? I'm looking to buy more. I think that it will not go much lower today. I think that the support of 220 is very strong. Maybe we could go there, but the difference between 240 and 220 in this share is just so small if you look at how volatile the stock has been. So I don't think it will go much lower today. Squeeze hasn't happened. No, it hasn't even started. Or I mean, a few short positions have uh, for sure have been covered, but the actual short squeeze hasn't even started. It's very tiring to see GameStop being so slow today. It's very it's very unusual for this stock to have such a low volatility, but it's also nice to see that it can calm down and sustain these levels without going absolutely crazy, which is very good for us because it just shows us that we are able to hold for a long time, which means that short sellers will be forced to pay large fees for every day that surpasses without them covering their shorts, which just increases our probability of succeeding with our short squeeze. Yeah, exactly. S3 CEO went to talk to CNBC, and of course, that's a sign of unreliability. You're gonna stream tomorrow as well? I think so. Hopefully, we will see some bigger moves tomorrow, and there will be much more hype in the stream. I promise you. Right now, I am trying to answer as many questions as possible, and we don't see any big moves right now. So, but I think that's nice as well to be able to answer all of your questions regarding GME, and hopefully tomorrow the stream will be a little bit more energetic and I think it would be very nice to be able to stream while we see this GME rocket take off, and we can uh, go absolutely crazy together and see this finally this short squeeze finally occurring and going to $1,000. I think the stream is really nice. Thank you. Thanks a lot. That means a lot. All of the support is very, very, it means a lot. It's very nice. Yeah, it's really nice to see a lot of positive feedback coming in. So that's it's very nice to see, and it helps me keep going, seeing that you guys are learning a lot. Yeah, exactly. If it was sustaining itself at $500, of course that would be better. But maybe that's what we will see in a few days. Yeah, exactly. The hedge funds try to close their positions as low as possible, which is probably a big reason why we saw this recover so quickly as well. We saw a recovery of almost 200% in just an hour, which is a good indication of some short positions being closed during this time. Uh, I guess that the hedge funds try to manipulate the price as low as possible, but then at this level, some of the hedge funds started to cover their short positions, um, which is basically these hedge funds throwing the other hedge funds under the bus because they all tried to unite and push the price down, and then some of them betrayed them and probably covered their shorts. At least that's what I think happened. Maybe the retail investors were the ones that drove the price up as well, but for sure some short positions were closed during this time. And it only goes to show that these hedge funds are competing to close their positions at the lowest price possible. So if we sustain this 230 level, I think more and more hedge funds will be more pressured into actually closing their positions because they are too afraid that the price might rise once again, and that itself will trigger the short squeeze. That the more and more hedge funds start to buy the stock instead of shorting it. Why do we only hear about Melvin being the short seller? What other hedge funds are shorting? How do we find out? It's a really good question, and I've been wondering the same thing because I believe that Melvin is probably the biggest short seller, but I there are of course a lot more hedge funds that also have short positions in this, and it's weird that this hasn't got more attention. And I'm not sure if if you're able to find statistics of who is shorting the stock, but if it was possible to find these statistics, I think that they would already be very popular. So I think it's hard to see who is actually shorting this stock, except from Melvin Capital. Why is it really quiet today? I think it's because of course, that most of retail investors don't even have the ability to buy the stock because of the restrictions, and that the institutional investors simply don't have enough resources to keep pushing the price down. I think they're still trying to push the price down right now as well, but probably the rest of the world and a few Americans as well are helping the price stay up. So that's kind of a balance, and it's causing the price to be very slow and boring, but it's good to see that the price can sustain itself at these levels. And if you've noticed, this forms a very, very nice triangle with this short-term resistance here and this support level at 220. So when we start to reach this level at 220, we will either see a breakout downwards or upwards, and hopefully, and I think it will be upwards. So that would be a very, very positive sign. If we were to break downwards, I think that we would be caught quite quickly by the level of 200, because it's such a psychological level where I think a lot of people will feel comfortable to buy the dip. So hopefully, if we break down below 220, we will quickly recover at 200 and then go back up. But if we do break the resistance instead, I think that's of course very, very nice, and that will leave us with a price target of let's see, yeah, right around $420. So that's a good sign. 420 is always a good sign, of course. Are you still with me, Aideen?
Of course I am. I'm doing some research of my own while the stream's going on.
Nice, nice.
There's not really much to talk about here today, as this is going very slow.
Yeah. Are you checking
But
out?
tomorrow and the day after, we'll probably have a lot.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm just looking for more controversy within GME.
How long do you think before the short squeeze happens? I'd say that we are at the brink of actually breaking out and beginning and triggering the short squeeze. But I think that the most important thing right now is the restrictions, and as soon as they are taken away, I think that will be the best catalyst to trigger the short squeeze. But it's very hard to say when that will happen. I think very soon, maybe this week, hopefully this week, but uh, at the most, at the highest, a month. Can you explain the process of shorts closing their positions? Where was the squeeze from all the shorts that expired on Friday? So this is a good question, but you need to remember that the shorts usually don't expire. What expired on Friday, that was call options. So that means that everyone who bought call options that expired on Friday, um, those people needed to be provided with shares from their brokers. So this is what causes a gamma squeeze when all of the brokers need to quickly buy shares to give to the people that bought call options that expired in the money. So the short positions, on the other hand, they don't really expire. But they can be forced into covering their short positions if the price goes high enough, but it doesn't really have a set time frame. And the reason that there was no squeeze on Friday, no gamma squeeze, is that the brokers had learned from their previous mistakes that there is a good chance of GameStop actually closing well above the call options strike price. So they had already accumulated enough shares to cover those call options by Friday, so they didn't have to rush to buy the stock on Friday, which they previously had to do the week before. Have you found some nice news on Wall Street bets or something, ID? Are you still with me?
Yes, I just came back. My internet was crashing for a minute though.
Yeah, it seems like it's still kind of crashing because I can't really hear you.
Is it better now? Or...
Yeah.
Okay, good. Allow me to send links, Limesada.
Can short squeeze happen in, after, or pre-market? In after or pre-market? Yeah, it could for sure be triggered in the market or in the after hours, and this would maybe happen if there was some extremely positive news when the normal stock market wasn't open, but it wouldn't mean that the people that cannot trade during pre-market or after hours would miss out on the short squeeze. It will only mean that the short squeeze starts to give a large price increase before the market opens or after market opens, but um, the short squeeze itself has to play out when the market is open, because most of the shares are traded during when the market is open, and that's when these hedge funds really when they need to buy all of the shares available, or whatever percentage the short interest is at. But I think it is well over 100%. So if they were to if they need to buy so many shares, then that has to happen when volatility is high, and it's simply not high enough in after hours or in the pre-market. Yeah, I think it's nice to have a stream during market hours. It's really nice to follow the price. Today we have mostly been only answering your questions, which is also nice because not so much has happened with GME today. Um, but it will for sure be more exciting when things are getting heated, both when we are taking off and seeing large price increases, and also when the price decreases, because I think a lot of people are lost in a lot of stress and anxiety when we see a bigger crash. So I think it's nice to maybe have someone to listen to calm down your nerves. I just joined live. Did you talk about AMC? No, I didn't really talk about AMC, except that it really follows uh, the price of GME very, very closely, as does most of these heavily shorted stocks. Um, but I think that the most important thing right now is to actually focus on GME, and not let our focus shift away from GME. And then when the short squeeze in GME is done, I will for sure cover a lot of things about AMC as well. I think that AMC has a good potential to be the next short squeeze, but if we do not see a short squeeze in GME, there's no reason for the short squeeze occurring in AMC as well. So that's why I think it's unnecessary to try to be early to AMC right now, because the same profits will be made in GME. And if they are not made in GME, then they will probably not be made in AMC either. Do you think it's possible another ladder attack might happen like last Thursday? Yeah, for sure, but I don't think it can be as dramatic. I think that the ladder attack for sure was a big part of the 75% drop on Thursday, but also in that same attack, I think a lot of retailers also sold their stocks. Not only the ladder attack was responsible, but therefore the most weak investors, the paper hands, have instead been replaced with new power and diamond hands, and therefore I think that it's hard for another ladder attack to have the same dramatic effect as on Tuesday.
But if there is a ladder attack, we will most likely be here to cover it on the live stream.
Yeah, hopefully I plan on doing as many live streams as possible, and if there is a ladder attack, I'll be sure to be streaming, and hopefully we can see a lot of people buying the dips. Hopefully we will see the restrictions being taken away as soon as possible, so that people are able to buy the dips. Hopefully we see the GME short squeeze trend even more in China and the rest of the world, so that the rest of the world um, uh, also are able to buy the dips. How did you learn to trade? I mean, it's all of the information that you need is free on YouTube. There are a lot of YouTubers selling their course, and this could be good if they have gathered the very best information in a very accessible way, but you don't have to pay anything in order to learn everything. Everything is available on YouTube. So I think the best way is to just search for a lot of different strategies, and simply don't follow just one person's advice. Just try to learn from as many sources as possible.
I also believe that if you are willing to invest in becoming a trader, then you probably should buy books and courses and all of the stuff that you can
Yeah, you
buy
could do
to
that,
become a good trader.
and it may be a good way to learn as quickly as possible, because with free information it's hard to know if it's reliable, or it's hard to find the best information. But I think if you don't want to spend a lot of money, it's possible to find the best information for free as well. You just have to be a little bit more careful with what you watch and read, and then of course experience is also key. I think that being able to mentally survive losing a lot of money is a big key in trading actually. So I would just start to trade right away. A lot of people say that you should try to try to invest with fake money and do imaginary trades, but I think that if you trade with real money right away, you will take it more seriously. You will probably lose your first trades and you will lose money, but that teaches you the feeling of losing money, and then you will be more careful to avoid losing money. So I think that's the very best way to learn. But of course, that doesn't mean you should invest all of your life savings right away, but at least some real money, so that you actually take it seriously and learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, and we talked about it before. If you invest more money, you will have an emotional connection to how the stock is, which you then want to remove.
Yeah,
So being more
exactly.
experienced with stocks will help you negate your emotions
Yeah,
when
exactly.
you're trading stocks.
It's like we've seen here, like we've seen here. We saw the 75% drop, and because of that, a 30% drop today is not as scary, just because people are used to losing a lot of money already. So I think it's the same thing goes for investing in general. You need to be ready to lose money, and that's when stop losses come into play, where you cut your losses. A lot of people will ignore their stop loss because they cannot accept that they have lost a little bit of money, and it results in them just losing more money. Do we see a possible breakout? I think not. It depends on how you draw the graph. But I think this is the best way to draw the resistance, and we saw a noticeable touch on the resistance, but we did not see a breakout. Would you please discuss interpreting volume data, how the volume candlesticks relate to each other? Is there a scale or a way to actual volume of each candlestick? I mean, it's a whole chapter of trading that is that you need to learn about interpreting volume, but right away we can see clearly that, of course, there was a lot more volume over here compared to what we have seen these last days. And just comparing this kind of extreme move to these much smaller moves, and then at the same time the volume being much higher at these points than here, that it clearly shows that something is wrong. And that looking at that, it's pretty easy to see in what way the data should the volume should be interpreted. But I think the best way is again to just look at Wall Street Bets, try to compare a few different sources on Reddit, as well as maybe some other reports from other places, which can help you understand what kind of volume should relate to the different price movements. It's much easier than learning the whole mechanisms of volume itself. Are there any patterns forming right now? It depends on if you're if you want to see some what kind of patterns you're talking about. We are seeing some nice W patterns that I drew out before, like this, that could possibly be playing out, which would give us a nice increase of like $40. And we also see we also see we also see this very nice triangle here with this purple support level, which has been very strong, together with the this day's resistance here. So once we reach this point, which will be maybe tonight, but probably tomorrow, we can probably see a breakout, and it could come downwards or upwards. It's hard to say, but if it goes downwards, like I said before, I think we have a good psychological level at 200, where a lot of people will buy the dip. And if we break up upwards, I think that would give us an indication of going all the way up to 420, because that's how big the triangle is. Or if you want to draw it like this, it would be an even bigger increase, but this move under the support kind of ruins that scenario. So I would draw the triangle like this and set a price target of 420. Have you found anything interesting, Aiden?
No, just Yimgum saying back to 515 is just a bear case.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, taking up again that Wall Street bets is kind of the only reliable source nowadays. And when I say reliable, I don't mean totally reliable. Like, your due diligence should be a little bit everywhere, but
Yeah, of course.
main
But
source media
in
isn't.
comparison to mainstream media, I think Wall Street
Yeah,
Bets provides you with a lot more useful information.
mainstream media just blasting different information everywhere.
Yeah. Can you see the L2 data? Yeah, I looked at it before, and it's like you say, there are a lot of sell orders at 420. But I think that with the momentum that we can gather from this breakout from this triangle, and if we were to see a catalyst, I think that a lot of people will change their sell orders once we are starting to approach 420 with large momentum, and also with that large momentum we will probably also break 420 quite easily, but of course that will be a hard resistance level to look out for, but I think that $1,000 is a much harder level. There were a lot of more sell orders at $1,000. How do you do your DD when you are interested in a stock? As I said before, the most interesting thing that I like to look at is simply what is going on in on social media and on the news. There are a lot of different types of trading. Of course, you should look at the fundamentals to see that the company is a good company, of course, but I'm not a long-term investor, and I'm not I'm neither a real day trader. Instead, I try to do these kind of swing trades where I look at what is happening in the media and trying uh, to ride the wave simply. Um, the trend is your friend, so if you follow the trends on social media, it's uh, it's easy to see where a lot of attention is put and where what stocks have a great short-term potential. And this goes for crypto as well. A great example is the XRP pump and dump that we saw today. We could look at what XRP is at right now. Okay, so XRP is sustainable at 0.4, but this is what we saw, and this was easily predictable. Um, there have been these Telegram groups and Discord groups, and on the XRP Reddit page, there has been so much hype about XRP, and there has been a coordinated pump and dump that was set to start at Monday today, and so this move was very easily predicted. Most people were predicting $1 to $2. It didn't reach just that high, but I think that if someone is saying that they predict a $1 XRP, they are probably themselves selling at around 0.75 or 0.8 or something like that. So if you would have seen that pump and dump, maybe you could have rode the wave for a 50% gain, and that would have been an extremely good trade, of course. And then just by looking at what is trending right now. But then, of course, you need to be very careful for these kind of movements where we can come straight back down again. And GME compared to this kind of thing, where in XRP, the people that made profits buying in at 0.28 and going up to 0.8, for example, those people, their profits were only made off of other retail investors that lost the same amount of money. In GME, on the other hand, we see a extreme pump, but the profits that the retail investors are able to make will hopefully all come from the hedge funds and the guys at Wall Street being burned, instead of other retail investors having to pay for our success. So if GameStop was to break down now, all of the profits that would have been that have already been made by retail investors would have been on the cost of other retail investors. So that's why we don't want to sell. We want to hold until all of the profits are paid by the hedge funds. You caught this before a lot of people who are broadcasting about it now. I hope you're still holding your shares from earlier and riding that rocket to the moon. Yeah, I did buy in. My average cost was at 110. I did buy in much earlier, but then I bought some more when we were at a higher price, and then I went all the way up to 300 approximately, and then I sold, and then I went all in again in this dip that we saw. I went in at 270, 250, 200, and 150. So that was a nice buy-in at the dip, and now I am holding and I'm not selling whatever happens until we reach $1,000.
A little recommendation for everyone is to actually set a goal here for 1,000 or whatever you want it to be. I can't tell you what to take out at, but you should have an end goal.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
being 1,000, 1,200, it doesn't really matter. But having fundamentals like that will help you in the future when investing to not overgo your stay. In other words,
What's your prediction on when this happens? Is it inevitable at this point? It's like I said in the last video that I made yesterday. I think it is inevitable if everything is to play out fairly. But we have already seen that the guys at Wall Street are cheating. They are doing illegal manipulation for the stock to crash back down. But so that's why it's much harder for us to actually trigger this short squeeze with all of the restrictions on Robinhood as well. But I still believe, I'm still very optimistic that we will succeed, even though there's a lot of cheating going on. I still believe that we are stronger, but because of all of the manipulation, it's very hard to say um, if the short squeeze will happen or not. But I'm very positive. Look at Jordan Belfort, the real Wolf of Wall Street Instagram post right now. Sure, I will do that. Oh, well, it's a clip, so I'll make sure to watch it a little bit later. But that's absolutely interesting. If someone wants to tell me what he says on Instagram on Wolf of Wall Street, then that would be great if you could summarize that video in the comments. I hear no restrictions on Robinhood right now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have Robinhood myself, so I cannot check that. If you guys could check that out, that would be great. If there are still any restrictions, and I'm sure that as soon as people start to realize that there are no restrictions, people will start to right away interpret this as very good news and start to buy the stock. Is there a place to see the most up-to-date quantities of shorts instead of one being a few weeks old? Well, it's very, very hard to say because there isn't a single news source or page for statistics that is going to tell you the exact number of stocks shorted. It's everyone is saying different things, and a lot of the information is untrue. So therefore, my strategy is to simply look at the Reddit page at Wall Street Bets and make my own interpretation of out of the information that is put in these Reddit posts. There are many posts on what the short interest is right now, and from the information that I've read, um, um, mostly because of the low volatility. To me, it is very clear that the short interest is probably over 100% still. But that's something that's very, very hard to know for sure. And I think it is absolutely a good idea to look at these Reddit posts yourself and form your own opinion on what you think. That's really cool. People are summarizing the Wall Street the Wolf of Wall Street post, and if this is something, if if it is like you say an inspirational speech or something like that, saying holding the line, then that's really great. It will be another of these news that trend over Reddit and strengthen our belief in holding the line and until we trigger this short squeeze. So that's absolutely very, very nice.
As half the people are saying here, diamond hands all the way.
Yeah,
All the way.
exactly.
Never breaks.
Exactly. And I think that's what's so fun to see. Every single celebrity that joins the GME hype train um, is so positively awarded by the whole internet right now, and the people that are against GME right away are getting a lot of hate. And this is, of course, the definition of selective information or whatever you want to call it. And in the most cases, that's not really the kind of situation you want a stock to have, where only positive information is trending and all of the negative things are disregarded. But with the GME short squeeze, the more positive things that are trending, the more people will hold and the more people will buy, and this will, like a self-fulfilling prophecy, bring the short squeeze one step closer at a time until we are able to trigger this short squeeze. And even if some of these even if some of the positive information would be false, it doesn't really matter. If it does help with triggering a short squeeze, it will become true. If someone says that the short squeeze will happen, of course today it's not for sure, but if they're saying that and it contributes to making the short squeeze occur, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where people, just because they think it will happen, it does happen. So it's a very special situation where in comparison to a normal pump and dump where retailers will be the ones paying other retailers their profits, and now we are seeing the retailers just burning the guys at Wall Street and stealing from the rich. So that's a different kind of bubble, if you like to say that. Uh, will it get down to $225 trying to buy 4 shares? It could for sure go to 225, but the difference between 225, well, now it is at 225, but the difference between with these $2 moves, it's very small. And if you spend too much time worrying about these $10 or $20 moves, you will find yourself very stressed out because yeah, like we've seen, the price can move 20 or even 30% in a minute. So the difference between buying at 225 or 220 or 227 or even at 180, it's not a big difference if we are going to $1,000 anyways. Yeah, exactly. The short interest is very suspicious. I believe it's impossible for it to be around 50% right now because there simply hasn't been enough volume. But that's my interpretation, and nothing's for sure, of course. But I think it's very unlikely that the short interest is under 100%.
Going into the Reddit page now, I see that there's now 8 million people inside of it. It's actually sick.
Yeah, that's
The
that's
increase
absolutely
just this
crazy.
month.
That's a 4 times increase in less than a month. So yeah,
Wow.
seems like we are making a little dip now at the end of this day. Hopefully tomorrow will have a strong open, and I strongly believe it will have a nice open. Are you holding any shares, and if so, what price did you get in? So from the beginning, my average cost was around $100. Although I did get into the shares a lot earlier than that, but then I bought more shares at a higher price. And then I sold all of my shares at $300 and then bought the dip on Thursday at 270, 250, 200, and 150. If these hedges are fake trading between themselves to lower stock and tricking the algorithm, how long does that take to correct itself? When does the algo catch this? The algorithm doesn't really catch it when they. I mean the price that we see right now, it's at 223. It simply means that the last trade that was made was between someone selling at 223 and someone buying the stock at 223. So when these hedge funds trade stocks between themselves, they trade for a lower and lower price, which makes it seem like the price is uh, dramatically crashing down, which it actually is because they are selling it for a lower and lower price to each other. But and at the same time, there's no one other to buy these shares because most people are restricted from buying. That's why we could see this 75% drop without much volatility at all. For these fake manipulations to correct themselves, we need people buying the dip, which is hard right now because a lot of people are restricted from trading. What time do you plan stream tomorrow? Hopefully, I'll be able to stream for the whole time that the market is open. Um, it's hard to say what time of the day because everyone is in different time zones, but from when the market opens till it closes, hopefully. Nothing's for sure.
Yeah. And if it is so that the market goes slow tomorrow, we're not sure that we will stream the whole time.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Hopefully tomorrow,
we will definitely be here.
yeah, hopefully tomorrow things are a little bit more exciting in the GME stock, If they are not, maybe the stream gets a little bit too less exciting. But I for sure think that tomorrow that we will see a lot of big movements tomorrow, and that this will cause our stream to be much more hyped up. Are you trading other stocks today? No, I am not. I'm not trading anything at all. I am planning though that after the short squeeze, maybe I am buying the dip in Bitcoin or Ethereum, but I'm not doing anything until we've seen the GME short squeeze. Do you think they will drive it down more? No, I do not think they will. I think this level of 220 is strong enough to sustain the price until the market closes in 13 minutes. And tomorrow, I think we will have a strong opening. Maybe the after hours could be manipulated into looking very bad. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think that we will open with a nice little spike tomorrow. Don't forget, some people are waiting for their broker transfer. Not only that, but those crazy ones out there investing. Unemployment will get paid tomorrow. Yeah, that's great news as well. Of course, as soon as people are able to trade, this will be both very positive because it's good news that can trigger, that can act as a catalyst, and also, of course, people will start buying in when they're finally able to, driving the price much, much higher. Do hedge funds have to cover their shorts all in one? They could go down to 220, cover some shorts to 300, then manipulate back down to 220 and repeat. Yeah, for sure. I think that's what they're probably trying to do right now. So if they're able to drive the price back down again and again and cover some shorts over time, that's absolutely a possible strategy for them. But I think that this would take too long for them to cover enough shares to be out of the pressure and danger that they are in. This would probably take a couple of weeks at least. And by then, I think we will probably see some kind of catalyst making the short squeeze finally triggering, and then it will be too late for hedge funds to cover their short positions at this kind of low level at 220.
Ooh, I've been seeing that two people bought shares on GME. Congrats.
Yeah, that's
At
nice.
Harats,
That's
yeah,
really
getting it
nice.
at, yeah.
I think this is a
At
nice
Harats, yeah,
level.
getting it to 20.
I think 220 is a great level to buy in at. Of course, we could see the price drop quickly from this level because it is a strong resistance level. But I think that if we drop down now, we will quickly be caught by all of the buy orders at around $200. So I wouldn't be too worried if you bought in now. But of course, nothing is for sure, and things could always go south. I think my trading view is lagging behind a little bit, so I'll check with my Yahoo Finance. So right now we are at 217. Yeah, trading view is back up again. There's a post on Reddit on GME failed to deliver in January. Can you comment on that? It's linked to the SEC website and has GME failed to deliver at 507k shares. Yeah, I've seen that post. It's probably the exact same post that you are talking about, and it's very interesting to see if there has been so much illegal activity. I think that regards how many shares that have been shorted, that have had naked shorting, which means that they sell shares that don't even exist, which means that they can create huge shorted positions without actually borrowing the stock. And what this means is that they are able to push the price down very effectively, but I still think that they still have to cover these short positions in the same way. And if this SEC were to find any kind of illegal activity around this, then I think that that for sure could be could be a catalyst, which we are looking for. If they were to report that there has been naked shorting, then I think for sure that is a good sign for GME right now. It's not good that the naked shorting exists for GME, but the consequences of that, I think we already have seen. So uh, if it is in fact true, then I think we have seen the worst of that already. But there's a lot of suspicious things going on there, and it's very hard to say what that would mean for this share. It seems like we are being caught by the 220 support. We are falling back down below a little bit, and we might close under it, but I think that is nothing too bad. As I said, the $200 support is very strong, and I think the opening tomorrow will be very strong. Unfortunately, we did not see a breakout of this day's resistance, and hopefully this is absolutely shattered tomorrow morning. Sources like Ortex and S3 say short interest is less than 50%. Is this enough for a short squeeze? Even if the short interest is at 50%, this is enough for a short squeeze, just not such a big one that Wall Street bets are talking about. If the short interest is at 50%, that's still very high, even though it's not nearly as high as the 140% that we saw before. So the short squeeze is still possible, but I highly doubt that the short interest is actually at 50%. I think it's actually much higher. But there are a lot of different sources saying different things about these statistics, and it's very hard to know which one of them is the most trustworthy. Do you think we'll spike up again? Yes, I strongly believe we will. Uh, as I've said many times, nothing's for sure, of course. No one can know exactly what we are going to do, but I am very optimistic that we will see another very big spike. I am off to sleep. Thanks for the great insights. Thank you for watching. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks to all of you for following this stream, and hopefully tomorrow a lot more energy will come with bigger moves today. The share has been boring compared to what has happened before, and it's unusual to say that a 30% drop is a boring day, but in GME bigger moves are expected. So hopefully tomorrow we will see a big increase, and I think that that will be very exciting to follow. So if hedgies are flipping shares among themselves, they aren't really paying their short positions, or are they? No, they are not. That would be if some brokers would be paid their loan back. so that the hedge funds short position is closed, but I highly doubt that a broker would want to do this, because this would only mean that they are losing money. Instead, hedge funds are selling the stocks to among themselves, to each other, and this doesn't cover any short positions. It only drives the price down without any change in short interest. Yeah, we are having a small little pump just before this close. So maybe the after hours could look good. I don't know. It's hard to say. A lot of people are suspecting big manipulation in after hours and in the pre-market, because even less volatility is going on then, and it's even easier to manipulate the price. So this is a nice little spike, but we have not yet even broken above today's resistance. So this move is not too significant, but it's nice to see that we are able to close above 220.
We on the moon yet? Question mark.
No, we are not on the
Soon-
moon. We are. We
Soon
have.
enough.
Yeah, exactly. We are in the rocket ship. We have climbed up in the rocket ship, but we
Yeah.
haven't taken off yet. We are just waiting to take off.
No.
Have you
We have
heard
seen the
about?
flame starting to ignite.
Yeah, exactly. We are warming up the engine. Have you heard about Dogecoin? If so, how do you feel about it? I of course I've heard about Dogecoin, and most of its moves have until now only been pump and dump. Unlike many other cryptocurrencies, Dogecoin doesn't really serve a unique purpose. Ethereum does, Bitcoin does, and XRP does, but Dogecoin is mostly just about hype, which means that I think it's hard for it to sustain a high level, but you should never underestimate hype either. So it's very hard to say. Dogecoin has been very, very bullish these last couple of days. I got caught in the XRP pump and dump. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. It's that is the kind of unethical pump and dump. It was easy to predict what was going to happen. The pump was easy to predict, and the dump was also easy to predict. But it's very, very, very hard to, of course, to know where the peak is at. Most people were predicting a $2 to $3 XRP, but that did not happen. So I'm sorry to hear you got caught up in that. Okay, so we have officially closed for today, and the after hours are staying quite still. But maybe we will see some more movement in a few minutes or hours. Dogecoin is a shit coin. Yeah, it kinda is, but still, it could go very, very high. Well, I guess that's all for today. I thank you all a lot for watching. I'm very, very happy to end the day with exactly 69 likes and with viewers at 169. That's always a very nice sign. I think that is a nice prediction of what will happen tomorrow, probably, and hopefully we will see a 420.69 GME tomorrow. Oh, there we go. Go, guys! You're not supposed to ruin the 69 likes. Now we have 81. Well, I guess that's nice too. But I thank you a lot for watching this stream, and I hope you'll be back tomorrow. And tomorrow, I am very optimistic. We will see some very nice moves. So stay tuned and see you tomorrow.
See ya.